Let's move into some climate change news. Um, News we are all very aware of because we are all very smart bears, smarter than the average bear. 50 years from now, many densely populated parts of the world could be too hot for humans. It's really nice of them to give us a whole 50 years. I mean, that is really generous. I've heard the window for that happening be anywhere between this year and 50 years. So you take your pick depending on how you feel on any given day. Unless steps are taken to check global warming, up to 3 billion people will find themselves in areas too warm for human comfort, a new study finds. By 2070, the world's habitable climate zone will shift so much that billions of people will be pushed past human comfort levels. So, again, to interject, we had many reports by credible climate scientists over the last 2 years that we had maybe 12 years, and that was over the last 2 years, so now maybe 10 years, to actually do something about climate change. So even if you believe that this is not going to happen for another 50 years, which, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, not on your life. This is more likely to happen within the next 5, 10, or 20 years. We don't have 50 years. Point blank, we do not have 50 years. A new study published Monday in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Scientists shows a surprisingly narrow human climate niche between 52 degrees Fahrenheit and 59 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will shift geographically more in the next 50 years than any time during the past 6,000 years. As a result, up to 3 billion people are likely to live under climate conditions that are warmer than conditions deemed suitable for human life to flourish, the international team of researchers wrote. Los Angeles and Paris will bake in fiery desert temperatures, and the world's most populous cities in Asia and Africa will have deadly heat waves every year. So I guess here's another thing to think about is that if this is going to be true in 50 years, do you think people are going to live there for another 49 years and all of a sudden it's just going to be too hot and they're going to leave in 50 years? So most likely this will be a slow, I mean, this is really slow, gradual changing of the climate to where people are not going to be able to live there anymore. So who knows when that actual tipping point is going to be. It looks unlivable for many, says co-author Tim Lenton, director of Global Systems Institute at the University of Exeter. Where we are headed is a place we don't want to go. Some cities in North America and Europe that are now in the sweet spot of the human climate zone with mean annual temperatures from 64 degrees and 68 degrees Fahrenheit will be as warm as the North African coast by late in the century, Lenton said. That's quite a climate shock. We're going back to temperatures that we haven't seen for 5 million years, territory that predates the divergence of humans from apes, he said. Compounding the climate problem for humans is that the greatest population growth is expected exactly in those zones most affected by human-caused warming. If the inhabitants do not migrate to more livable areas, the researchers projected 1/3 of the global population will experience a mean annual temperature warmer than 84 degrees Fahrenheit, an average currently found only on 0.8% of the Earth's land surface, mostly concentrated in the Sahara. Land areas are warming faster than the oceans, which mean human experienced temperatures are projected to rise by about 13 degrees Fahrenheit. More than twice the mean global temperature rise, says co-author Martin Scheffer. With Wageningen University and Research, sorry, I had to say that many times and mess it up every time, the poorest, most densely populated parts of the world with the lowest adaptive capacity are potentially the most affected, he added. The buildup of heat and population can make the human climate bubble burst. And of course, they had to get a quote from Michael Mann. Who's saying it's really bad, but golly gee, don't say it's too bad, Or don't say it's worse than I say it is, because then you're an alarmist. Massive migrations and huge adaptations. Sheffer said the study tallied population densities based on mean annual temperatures, how many people lived in places where that average reading was 50 degrees, 70 degrees, or 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The researchers then identified the temperature niche that has attracted the most people going back 6,000 years. Climate and populations changed, but the bulk of the people were always concentrated under the same conditions. Lenton says he hopes the paper will resonate as a humanized way to see climate change, and he made comparisons to humanity's response to the coronavirus pandemic. The massive impacts projected by the new paper will have an immense financial cost. The findings suggest that swallowing the financial pill now will pay for adaptation and planned migration would be less bitter than waiting and responding to events as they unfold. What do you guys think the reaction is going to be? In response to the pandemic, societies have been recalculating the cost-benefit equation, but for climate change, that reckoning has been on the back burner for too long. He said, by casting it in different terms, maybe we can trigger a much-needed change in our way of thinking. He said, stepping out of making an economic judgment and starting to make a human judgment would be a powerful step to take. How about an environmental judgment? Why does it always have to be about humans, huh? So they're talking about 50 years from now, and we are getting weather weirding today, right now. We're getting extreme weather today, right now. While there is a heat wave in the Southwest, the second heat wave to hit Los Angeles in the month of April, now there's going to be possibility of a massive snowstorm on the East Coast, or at least historic snow levels for May. Potentially historic May snowstorm headed for Northeast and New England. In addition to snow, 75 million people will wake up to below freezing temperatures Saturday. For many cities, it will be colder than it was on Christmas Day. So the entire East Coast actually had an incredibly warm winter with very, very little snow, and now a very late episode of freezing and possible snow. A May snowstorm is in the making for this weekend. On Friday, a storm system coming into the Northeast will clash with bitter cold Arctic air courtesy of the polar vortex, bringing the potential for heavy, wet snow across the interior. In the interior Northeast and New England, heavy rain is possible along the I-95 corridor. Widespread snowfall totals will range from a dusting to 6 to 8 inches in some spots, while isolated areas in extreme northern New England could see up to a foot. If this happens, it will shatter May snowfall records. Some cities that could see snow include Syracuse, Rochester, Binghamton, Albany in New York, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Burlington, Vermont. In addition to the rain and snow, it will be very windy and gusts with 48 miles per hour across the entire Northeast region and eastern seaboard. Snow, rain showers, and gusty winds will continue for the Northeast and New England through Saturday. About 45 million people are already under freeze watches and warnings from the upper Midwest to the Appalachians. These will likely expand in coverage and population. The cold air that will be responsible for the snow in the Northeast and New England will be record-shattering. This is an effect of climate change. Why? Again, the science is very simple. Warm air in the Arctic pushing extremely cold air out of the Arctic, where it's supposed to stay, down into lower latitudes, creating wild weather whiplashes. More than 50 record lows could be set or tied after Saturday and Sunday. Highs and lows will be 10 to 20 degrees below average this weekend, with that cold air stretching all the way into the deep south. By Saturday morning, 75 million people will wake up to temperatures below freezing. Cities that could set record lows over the weekend include New York, Buffalo, Nashville, Memphis, Baltimore, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Charlotte, Little Rock, Arkansas, Montgomery, Alabama, Shreveport, Louisiana. The last time New York City dipped into the 30s in May was 1978. You think we should take action now, guys? Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can also support the channel at the links below: PayPal, Square, Patreon. Thank you so much.